afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wonderful Friday. And my name is F. Dot, joined by Hindu Man. Excellent bow tie.
Thank you.
I have nothing else to say. That's all I really want to say. Have a wonderful day. See, no.
They can't really see it from here, so it's fine.
They can't?
No, I don't
is there
think so.
is there any way production can zoom in?
I
I don't think they can
No,
actually.
probably not.
But if they could, they'd be able to zoom in and see your. It is a bow tie made out of a $100 bill.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to find some way of actually using your monopoly to good use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you would have told me earlier, I would have gotten a tie that had British pounds on it. Or do you guys still do that, or are you the euro?
No, we're pounds.
I know.
Please don't start that.
I know.
Thank you.
See, this is what casting is about. It's about knowing the real answer and asking your chair to anyway.
I agreed. Well, let's talk. Let's go to real things now, other than your fake Monopoly money. Let's talk all about the first game of today, because we're going to be seeing the boys of Dignitas up against Epsilon. And Epsilon, well, they're in a strong position right now.
Yeah, this one should be interesting. Don't forget, we've got two matches for you. The next one will be North America Enemy versus Denial, but we will start off in Europe. So Dignitas versus Epsilon, two teams with two very different stories. Denial, or Dignitas, has been around for a long time and aren't really having their day in the sun right now. Whereas Epsilon, a newer team to the SPL, they're looking fantastic.
When you look through what Epsilon have done, their first season of this split, they won the Challengers Cup, got them through to last split, and made it into the Pro League from Challengers Cup.
Right.
Last split, they had a run at things, had a bit of unfortunate circumstances with Rafa being banned out, which caused them, in their eyes, to not make it to the LAN. This split, though, they've already beat Paradigm, they've already beat Fnatic, and now they've got to face a Dignitas team today that are currently 1-5.
Yeah, the Dignitas team, like we've always said that this roster has been rather inconsistent, but lately they've been consistently losing, which is problematic. It is only the third week, so they have time, lots of time to turn it around.
Yeah.
And really, that's where I look to you. Where does this team turn it around? I mean, you look down the roster.
I don't feel this week, because this week they've got Epsilon today, and then on Sunday they've also got to face Fnatic. And that's not going to be an easy week for them at all. They lost to Myrmidons, where they should have expected to be picking up games there. Just Us, they drew with. They split 1-1. And then they also lost against Titan as well. So all of the opposition they've really got to go against.
With that said, you can't count any team out ever.
Agreed.
So, I mean, really for this team, Dignitas, I am largely looking at the mid laner, Shadow Nightmare. He's a long-time player, definitely what I would call a veteran of the scene, and he plays very, very well despite not coming out on the winning side a lot of the times. Team Dignitas will be on the first pick side, and they're going to ban out the Giannis as they leave the second ban to Epsilon.
Now, what we've seen out of Epsilon for the most part in picks and bans so far, take into account they've only played two different teams so far, they focused their bans on Giannis and Ao Kwong as the two that they don't want to deal with. Giannis did just get banned away by Dignitas, and Dignitas, in their ban strategy from what we've seen so far this split, it's generally focused to the team. They don't have a specific strategy of taking out one god that they don't want to ever have to deal with.
Yeah, they more cater to their opponent. So if you take a look at what they've banned, Giannis and Serket, that might give you some insight into what Epsilon really likes to do, and it's exactly as we called it. Yamin loves to play this Giannis. He's picked it 8 times in the history of the SPL, and he's won 6. So definitely something they want to take out of the hands of their opponent. And Serket adapting, it's not exactly adapting's #1 god, but in the hands of a competent jungler, Serket could be devastating.
That's one thing as well. Epsilon banning away Ao Kwong. Once again, they've done that every single game so far, I believe. Sorry, not necessarily every single game, but most bans have been against Ao Kwong. They don't want to have to deal with the god. They've got Adapting and the solo lane and Ninja Demi that can play multiple different gods. They don't have to rely on this one to get through. Isis does get locked in for Team Dignitas, though. That will go to Shadow Nightmare.
No surprise there. Isis is extremely strong right now in the meta. She's considered one of the better gods. The early presence is what you're looking for out of Isis primarily, and then also sort of on the same level, the ability to really lock down objectives is what Isis does.
Now, one thing this season as well, we were discussing off air after, is Sylvanus for Rafa. He does get it this game once again. He's picked it 3 times already this season, and you found out, like, across the whole of the SPL, 100% win rate on this god, and he's still managing to get it.
It's funny because when you think of Rafa, you don't necessarily think Sylvanus. You think of warriors. I mean, you take a look at his top gods, and they're Guan Yus, they're Hercules, Odin's. Remember when he started? He's playing Thor and Thanatos.
Exactly.
He's an ex-jungler.
He played Odin last time as well.
Right.
That's the only other god he's picked other than Sylvanus so far this split. Dignitas, though, they do take away Neith. Now, the reason I'm going to mention this is because Emelito so far, he's only played 4 games, but 3 of those he did pick the Neith. The only time he didn't get it, it was when Reels took it away from him to make sure he didn't have it available to him. Over in EU, we're starting to see a lot of value into Neith, and another god with a lot of value right now, Nuwa.
Nuwa is very interesting because Nuwa was looked at, I don't want to say she was looked at as poor, but nobody really thought about playing her ever. Kiki's brought her into games a couple of times, and what Kiki does on AFK Gaming isn't necessarily what everybody else does, but sort of since then, we've seen a resurgence of Nuwa.
The pros have discussed the fact that she's very safe for the most part.
Right.
She can farm from distance if required, has to claim minions for the extra defensive opportunity and body blocking, but also that ultimate that will allow you to get out of bad situations and give some map presence, especially because it gives global presence of where the enemy gods are. When the wards have been limited in size, that can be played into account and actually be useful.
Very, very true. Also, what I always like to, it's such a big deal around objectives without a hog. The burst AoE damage is so scary for anybody that wants to come in. It's burst AoE and a stun with the explosion of the minions. So by having that threat there, it's a scary possibility.
I think that's a some Wukong jungle, support right now, because there's a jungle Bastet.
Yeah.
That's the, oh, maybe it's not. Is that Ymir support? I was going to say, I think that's some Wukong support because Ymir jungle for Frostiak, but with that Bastet lock-in as well, it could just be Ymir being played by Freya, which is something we've not seen him do for a little while. This season, he's been focused on Ares and Athena, but Ymir, he did get through.
I like the Ymir on Frostiak, honestly. Here, it's all up to whether or not Freya can really bring out the Wukong, which, I don't know, we haven't seen him play it just yet in the SPL. We'll see if that's going to be the case, because Frostiak, I don't think he named himself after the Ice Giant. It was just a nice coincidence that Frostiak has one of the better Ymir jungles around.
So it could be anyone on the side of Dignitas in the jungle there. It could be Bastet or Ymir. We'll see exactly how this is going to play as we get into game. The last pick for Epsilon, though, it was that Odin. And that Odin will be played by Ninja Dimmy in the solo lane. And Dimmy, against the competition against, he's going to be very good against Isis here.
The Ice is unable to really escape from the ring.
And reduce the healing as well that's going to be put out from the circle protection, so by 100%. So it's going to limit the heal back option of the team.
Well, we will see Bastet in the jungle onto Frostiak, so that answers that question. Frezzy will play, or Frezu these days, will play the Ymir. Shadow Nightmare on the Isis as we're taking a look here. And as we take a look at the starts, really nothing too surprising. Once again, adapting, showing up with the red pot on his Thor jungle. And this is pretty much what we see. The junglers stay in base till very, very late, because that allows them to maximize the uptime of that red buff.
Yeah, just to make sure it lasts a little bit longer. It doesn't make a huge impact, but it may do if you go for a gank just towards the end of the timer running out and you can get that.
Gives you an extra 30
off.
seconds or so.
But in terms of hunters, though, we are going to see a Freya played by Emelito. Now, Freya with Sylvanus, played by Rafa, those two together should have decent enough wave clear. It's not going to be great against Ymir and Neith, however. Neith going to be very safe in this lane. You can see she's gone for Transcendence as well. So going to be looking to get those stacks of the Transcendence and use those high base values of her abilities to combine as well to actually get some really strong whirlweavers off.
Now you mentioned high base values. That's the opposite for the character we see Frostiak playing today, Bastet. She scales at basically 100% on across all of her abilities. So look for the build here to have a lot of power involved.
Let's see what they can do. Shadow Nightmare did clear out mid. They're going to rotate for these right-hand Harpies now, and it appears that adapting, they chose the side of caution here. Isis and Bastet early on, a lot more aggressive and have more kill potential than a new War Thor.
Thor? Oh, well, Thor does have a lot.
Thor does a lot, but New War, what's she really going to do?
Exactly.
She's going to throw out Shining Metal, so you've got to play to the advantages. Maybe Thor's strong, but not in this composition right now.
Yeah, New War doesn't really have the minions yet, which is what really transforms that Shining Metal ability. The minions is the part of the kit that allows it to become a stun.
Well, that's the CC option of it as well. You do get the fog as well, but you're looking for wave clear up to level 3 for the time being. Rafa, though.
Ooh, Epsilon getting excited.
They're not going to be able to root out, though, Shadow Nightmare, who's
the damage is good. Yamin cleans it up with a Shining Metal for the first blood at 125.
Once again, great rotation from Epsilon. This is what they've been doing all season long, though. These very early rotations, realizing the opportunity when people are backing. I think they've just got their camp timers down to perfection at the start of the games every time of where people are going to be at what time. Can we get there and pick up a kill? And once again, we see them find first blood off that.
And you know, we said earlier in the picks and ban phase about how Rafa likes to play these aggressive warriors, and how Sylvanus is sort of a departure from that. Well, it's all about the play style, Hinderman, and going into the enemy jungle trying to get a root at 1.5 minutes in.
Really early.
That's aggressive.
But he didn't lose anything from it. The one big key for that was Ymir got that kill on Noir.
Yep.
Now, he is looking towards going towards Book of Thoth here. My question is now, will he rush this? Or will he go into boots? Well, the question's been answered because he just basically did go for the boots rush still. So he's going to be a little bit further up because obviously First Blood gives a little bit more gold.
And the boots are important for a character like Nuwa. She doesn't have a direct leap or a direct dash a la Agni or Scylla. She does have the ultimate, but one, it's an ultimate, and two, it doesn't really go far. It's just sort of an invulnerability for a little bit of time. So on mages, movement speed is always paramount, but specifically on that character.
Variety does have to use Cloud there in trade with the Odin ring. As you can see, Adapting doesn't stay around though, just going to go back to base. They got what they wanted, which was the Cloud. Keep an eye on Adapting rotating back here though, because now with Noir potentially available on the map, they could go for the all-in.
Exactly, and that Sun Wukong ult strikes me as beads 1 or a beads 2, where a lot of times you'll see a gank come into the lane with no intention of getting the kill, just to put enough pressure to make that ability be used.
Very true. Frezzy at the moment, though, still not been back to base just yet. We did see the Soulstone start from Rafa once more on Sylvanus. The respect out of the Team Dignitas duo lane so far, Ymir and Neith together, they've played this very, very passively. I expect them to be pushing this a little bit harder than they have been, though.
Why is that?
Because they're up against Sylvanus and Freya. Both of those, Sylvanus has AoE auto attacks, but she's very slow. And Freya, she's got this pulse, but the pulse can only clear the wave so far. Neith can pretty much one-shot the wave.
And Neith, on the other hand, is also trying to affect solo lane. Stun is good. Variety gets the hit, ties up the kills 1-to-1 as Team Dignitas collects theirs, but long lane trying to make things happen for the boys of Epsilon. Forced into the ultimate is Frezzy and Emilitu from the skies. Epsilon puts another one in their column, 2-to-1.
Contest of those right and harpies as well, but a great play honestly from Team Dignitas to realize that Variety was in trouble there. We were talking just a minute ago how his Cloud was burnt. Well, immediately gets a good rotation from his team that pick up the kill against Dimmy and forces Dimmy back to base. Response though from the duo lane, very aggressive, great play from the duo.
I mean, that's what you want to do when Neith goes into that ultimate. One of the good things about Neith is that she is able to affect the other lane. She is able to ult the Odin, which ultimately got Variety the kill. But in doing so, she's very vulnerable. She has to stand still, she can't move, she's stuck for an extended period of time, and Epsilon took that opportunity to go right on it.
Here's the other thing as well. We spoke about Emilito playing Neith a lot this season, and when we've watched him play, we've been jokingly saying he's trolling where he's just sat in ultimate form the whole time charging it. But what he's also doing there, he's showing that he may not fire it, he may fire it. What we saw clearly then out of Dignitas is they fired it immediately for the gank, so they knew they could go aggressive, and then they could call that out as well, so they knew the opportunity. Emilito doing it, he mixes it up a little bit more.
Exactly, it hides your true intentions. It doesn't exactly show your hand. He preps the ultimate and then uses it, not uses it, keeps the opponent on the feet. It's a very important tactic.
So now we've received the 3 kills so far. Obviously the kills for Epsilon going to the primary targets they really want out on Noir and the Freya picking those ones up. Across the way though, the kill did go over to Variety, which will help him be the tankier front line, but we'll see.
Purple Wolf going to go the way of Team Dignitas, so no pressure in the jungle there from Epsilon. They're looking at their own buff. Very important for Freya. Freya's a character that, well, the base values are there. It's not that she's completely weak in the idea of base values or scaling, but the idea is, so the way Pulse and Irradiate works, just a little intricate thought process of these Freya players. That's why you see the Fatalis, is that the steroid Hinderman is time-based. It's a 5-second buff, not X amount of basic attacks.
And on top of that as well, take into account, Irradiate is where the real damage comes from. The Pulse is there to give the range. The Irradiate is the damage, but you've got to make sure you land the slow first of all, or you're guaranteeing yourself to hit those, and that's why we see Fatalis.
And so the idea is you have a 5-second window of opportunity to really put out as many basic attacks as you can. So Fatalis and pure auto attack speed items are what is purchased. So in hand, that purple buff works perfectly for Freya.
Nice trade between the solos there. As Bastet does rotate to solo, then the Will Weaver just got 5. They may be looking for Dimmy again here. I'm not sure the Will Weaver will connect. They won't even need it. Frosty out brings down the kill with a good rotation, but left-hand side once more. Duo goes aggressive.
Emilito gets frozen, but here's the help from the jungle. Down comes Thor, and Emilito goes to the sky. Frezzy gets hit by 2 members in the air.
Every time Dignitas tried to make something happen, instantly responded by Epsilon, and double the penetration on that one as well because they pick up that extra kill, which is more effective. Now they're going to rotate for the Gold Fury. Early on in the game, Isis and Bastet up against the Bastet Cats are down, but Circle of Protection is up.
Gold Fury halfway. Nobody from Dignitas is here. There's just no idea that they're going for the gold. Well, I'm sure they had an idea, but they didn't want to contest it. There was just not enough numbers.
I mean, what could they really do to contest? I mean, only Isis more than anything else. Bastet used everything already to pick up Dimmy in the solo lane, so you've only relied on the Circle of Protection and the Spirit Ball for a potential steal.
And so there wasn't any vision, but you have to understand it. It's the information by lack of information. So Dignitas didn't know for a fact that their opponent was on the Gold Fury, but they knew their opponent wasn't anywhere in lane. So by communicating that, they understand that they're at the Gold Fury. But as we said, this is a post-hog meta, and that's probably the biggest thing you'll see is a lot of teams will opt to just give up the objective rather than go and contest it because there is no hog 3. There's no guaranteed steal button.
And on top of that, it's not that much gold to fall behind nowadays. With the Gold Fury getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on, it's not so bad. You can afford to lose an early one and then make it up on the next one because you'll actually make more if you get the second one over the first.
Because it's time value.
Yes, exactly. So give it up if you have to. You can still pull it back at the stage. The goal differential, not that big. It's about 1,200 between these two teams right now. Frostiak, though, is making an impact in this game. He's trying to get around the map and make rotations. The only problem is that Epsilon, whenever he goes somewhere, they're fighting on the other side of the map at the same time.
Which is why we see him on the left side of the map this time around. It's easier for Epsilon to recover and gank the dual lane just because there's already 2 members there. You send the Thor down. Now it's 3 on a 2. If the cat comes in, if Frostiak comes into the duo lane, it's harder to turn that around in the solo lane.
Well, what we can see from Epsilon, though, is they're focused onto Frostiak already, sorry, to Frezzy already in this duo lane. His mobility is one of the issues that big Guardians have, just like Sylvanus for the most part.
For a long time, that's what kept Ymir really out of the hands of support.
Agreed, but they're trying to abuse it more and more as time goes on. You can see that every time they go for that kill, the priority really is onto Ren's, but they'll take the scraps, so to speak, of Frostiak's carcass.
Nuwa's going to ult here, and this is exciting because it will deal damage. But as you see on the minimap, Nuwa wasn't really in any trouble. What it really did for her team was it provided, it's a satellite ult.
Exactly.
It provides global vision, so now everyone knows where everyone is. There was a thought that there was some danger in the solo lane. They know exactly what's going on.
Is there a ward there? Because Ren's just won a big trade against Amelito, who beats early. He's going to try and base in the safest place possible. If there was a ward there, that would have been Will Weaver death. And luckily enough, luckily for him, Ren's did not get vision in time.
Shadow Nightmare. A lot of people looking at that Isis. Root is good, but a perfect Spirit Ball will stun out Raffer. Raffer looking for more after the ultimate from Isis is already popped. Frostiak jumps in. Very low is the Tree God, and Frostiak will send Raffer back to the base forcibly while Dimmy Goomba stomps on top of the mid lane.
Rotation from Dimmy, but Frostiak will secure the kill on Ymir, but traded out on the backside to adapting. Now Variety's thinking about going in, but good rotation from Amelito after getting back to base. Dimmy's still here, and this was death for Variety because Thor's in the sky.
As soon as Variety lands, Thor's going to land right. Oh,
no,
waited it out just long enough. Adapting follows the monkey into the jungle, and this should be death. Don't forget, the cloud is down, so it's a matter of how they can kill out Variety. And Freya is the one that slays him. One more kill for the long lane Freya. 3-0-1. Epsilon's Hunter is looking fantastic.
Yeah, Amelito's in a great spot right now. Already finished using the Medjay before that fight even initiated.
Yep.
And now he can start working on that demonic grip. And that's pretty much the 3 core items you want to see on any Freya going forward. Then the rest are like bonuses more than anything else right now.
No problem with Raffer dying right there. It put everybody on Team Dignitas in an awkward situation and allowed Epsilon to really clean up those kills.
Frezzy did his best to pick up Yamin on the backside, but he just couldn't hold off enough. He wasn't tanky enough to take enough tower shots to survive through it, and trading himself out one more time.
Shadow Nightmare now cleaning off the minions that have made it to his tower since he spent a little bit of time in the jungle, picking up some camps. And we'll see 2 more people join him in the mid lane. We're 11 minutes in, so Fire Giant has been spawned for about a minute. Won't expect teams to really go for that just yet, but 4-7 read the kills. Team Dignitas trail by about 2,000 gold despite being the ones that gave up, or not despite, but they're the ones that gave up First Blood. First Blood went to the Nuwa.
This is a good situation for Dignitas, though. They're not that far behind at this stage of the game. Epsilon so far this season have been putting on a dominant performance against really big name teams, and Dignitas, as we said, they're currently 1-5, but this game, they're looking like they've got substance, you know? They have to keep this up.
I like what I'm seeing out of them with respects to finding the right spots to fight. They're going for the ganks, and to be fair, Epsilon is following it up.
Frostiak.
But this is what we're talking about. Frostiak is finding the right fights. He found Dimmy. That's not the first time he's found Dimmy.
Not.
Dimmy's died 3 separate times.
But look at the response. Epsilon again trying to make something back. They're going to go for the Gold Fury, knowing Bastet's on the other side. It's going to be a 3v4 fight for a time
Isis
being.
is here, though. Shadow Nightmare is
not.
making the rotation, and between Frezzy and Shadow Nightmare, that's enough just objective control to scare Epsilon away.
Unless they manage to kill Frezzy in the jungle here. The Frost is instantly bees by Emilito after the whoop, and Ymir picks it up with the ultimate from across the map. Adapter, I think, just went to the sky. No, he just claimed a ward. I thought he just went up in the sky. Or maybe he did. He did. I was right. I thought I said go just in case there was a reinitiation. That's really wise of Adapting. There was no pressure.
Just in case.
Just in case the rotations come.
And also, not for nothing, so it doesn't give you the global vision on the map like New Waz does, but you can use your eyes. You can just physically see where the opponent is.
But look what Epsilon just did, right? They lost a kill in the solo lane. Once again, what do? They get a response kill every time.
Immediately, that's what they do. And
they look for the Gold Fury.
They tried to one-up themselves here.
Yeah.
They didn't just go for the kill. They went for the objective. Unable to get it, but they still knew they had to get something out of it, or directly looked at Frezzy.
Really good work from Epsilon and Team Dignitas so far. So 30 minutes into the game, Demonic Grip still being worked on. Transcendence finished for Renz in this lane, though. He's 0-1-2 here. Nearly had the potential to pick up Emilito a little bit earlier on, which could have changed the pattern in that duo lane for the time being. But the big talking point for Dignitas, for me, is Frostiak in the jungle. He's having a very good game.
This is what we want to see out of Frostiak. Frostiak has had some trouble lately, and seeing the way he's performing on this Bastet, he's finding, not only is he finding the kills, but he's finding the right people to kill, and he's getting out. Sure, that's kind of what Bastet does, is get out of problems,
and he's going
but he's got 0 deaths.
He's going for more raw power as well with this Transcendence build that he's going into here as well. So he's really looking to try and help his team even further and keep finding these picks. Dimmy is 1-3-1 so far in this lane. He's having a troublesome time by the ganks, but in the jungle,
Raffer getting very excitable, linked in, and down comes Adapting. Frozen, but beads are good. Adapting will just barely make it out. He's going to hide in the Nuwa fog. Emilito gets the rotation good enough, and Shadow Nightmare will fall. Stuck in the ring is hi-rez. Nowhere to go with that backflip down. The bird bomb's good, couple of basics, and he will fall as well. 2 for Emilito. A whole slew of damage comes out, and Frostiak still winds up on top. Variety has made the rotation and is chased out of here by Emilito, looking for the 3rd kill. He'll just clear a ward and then go for the mid camps.
Frostiak, I feel in that honest engagement, he managed to find Rafa, but if he would have just turned around, all he had to do was auto-attack Adapting in mid, and he missed it. He didn't see it. He had his back to him, and Adapting gets out with 1 HP, literally.
Variety is still here. Emilito is chunky. He does have not quite the demo grip, but he's got the penetration from the boots of the Magi. Stunned out by Adapting. Better than a stun, that's a wall. Variety's got nowhere to go. Double tap, not enough to kill, but he'll find safety in his own base.
Really crazy fight across the map, but once again, it's Epsilon that come out on top. Let's go to the graphs, and we should be able to see the swing continue in 1700 gold now. It did dip up for Dignitas a little bit, but with the Gold Fury in their favor still, and 3,000 experience, just shy of Epsilon still in control of this game, but not by a massive margin.
Raffer, he sees Frezzy and Shadow Nightmare. I don't think he's going to go in on this one just yet, but what Raffer's been doing that was sort of showcased in that last fight was Raffer goes for these initiations when his team is in the vicinity, not exactly right where he needs them to be, which is fine because he's trusting, he has the trust that and it works out. He knows his team will back him up. So he goes in when the opportunity presents himself, and his team just has to be ready.
Well, Gold Fury at the moment looks like he's been started again by Epsilon at least, or they're going to bait for the opportunity to pick Frezzy one more time around this corner as he's looking. This time though, Frezzy wise to that trick, and he'll notice it and come around the opposite way just to make sure Gold Fury has not begun.
Lift is good on Shadow Nightmare. Epsilon, they're going to forget about the Gold Fury just for now. They'll head back to lane, Adapting, making his way towards the middle. And Frezzy, he wants to see just how committed to leaving Epsilon is, so he hangs out for just a second before heading back to lane in with his Neith.
The one big issue, though, for the side of Team Dignitas is Emilito right now. 5-0 and 3 on Freya with the 3 core items online. And it's very difficult to gank as a Bastet too, because obviously Valkyrie take you out of combat. The Banish take you out of combat. And he's going to start wrecking havoc in these team fights even more than he already has done. His Slash Man was 5-0-3 before he finished it.
See this, the blinks are good, but Epsilon already gets the Gold Fury. Frostiak does a lot of damage to Emilito, and here comes Variety. The solo laner with the transition makes the kill. Hunter will fall. Raffer inevitable as well. They get the Gold Fury, but Epsilon do lose 2 members of their team.
They do lose 2 members of their team, but it was a great trade for them because he did pick up Emilito. Shadow Nightmare goes a little bit too aggressive, though.
I love it, though.
He won't die off that, but honestly, that whole engagement after the Gold Fury was down to Variety's teleport. Very on point, instantly in there, shuts down Emilito.
Look at this. Dignitas completely understand the way that they've alleviated on the left-hand side of the map, so they pick up the tier 1 and continue going. They still have 4 melee minions, which is more than enough between the Bastet and the Neith. That's a lot of damage on the tower.
He needs to ult if he can and just keep people pinned in. Unfortunately, though, there's 3 minions still standing who have aggro. They're going to get the tower for free. He was really, what he should have been trying to do if he could, is just make sure the attack speed was down.
The wall will only help Frezzy for a second or 2. I did love it. And I'm actually fine with Frezzy dying right there. Frezzy dying for not just the tier 1, but the tier 2 after getting the 2 kills. That is a great point.
Oh, adapting though, going deep in the mid lane, especially with that tower being down. Going to find Shadow Nightmare. Now Variety's cut out so much damage from these 2 in the mid lane and just bursted through Variety.
That's what Nuwa brings to the table, that burst damage. And also, if you're a good Nuwa, we see what Yaman just did right there. On the 6th basic attack, the Nuwa will root. So a lot of times you'll see Nuwas just hold on that number 5, knowing that the next one is a root, and use it almost like an ability. That's exactly what happened to Variety. Just gets absolutely smoked, down for about 25 seconds.
Bastet, Frostiak going aggressive one more time on this right-hand lane, looking for the pick onto Yamin. The Whirlweaver's coming in, so he's the block that Whirlweaver. And Emilito's there to save the day, and the Wisps from Raffer will save it, and there's Emilito.
Frostiak falls to the Wisp of Raffer. Emilito not able to get it despite burning the ultimate for it. Raffer didn't plan it that way, but he'll pick up another kill for himself. Support looking fresh, 2, 3, and 6. On that Soul Stone Sylvanus.
Hey, once again, we're just going to repeat. Every game Raffer has played Sylvanus in the Pro League, he has won.
Every single one.
Every single one.
6 times. It's not like he picked him once and got lucky and won. He's played this character 6 times. This will be his 7th. And if all goes well, he'll continue the undefeated streak.
It's looking like at the moment, not by a monstrous margin though, but it's still big enough to win the game as this one's going on. Bancroft's Talon or Pythagorean's Piece coming out for Emilito next.
We see both, honestly.
I think we'll see Pythagorean's because of the Yamin in the jungle, sorry, in the mid lane played in that new wall.
Variety caught underneath the Fire Giant, forced to use the animals a little bit earlier than he might have wanted, but Variety still has the ultimate online, so ultimately safe here as we're past the 19-minute mark. 8 to 15 read the kills in Epsilon's favor, in addition to 3,000 gold lead that they have, looking very, very strong here in the first game of a 2-game set.
The scariest thing for Dignitas right now, though, is the fact that they've actually taken a tier 2 tower down, and they're still down on gold.
Yeah.
This is down to the fact that the fight's not going in their favor every time, and those 2 Gold Furies.
And I liked their early game. Team Dignitas were being the aggressor. They were making the correct kills, but the counter engagements on the other side of the map that Epsilon repeatedly employed were just so well executed that it gave a lot of bonus to Epsilon. Add a Gold Fury into the mix, and that's the reason Epsilon's standing strong.
They are standing strong for the time being. I mean, I like the position they've got themselves in once more. They're doing this against every single team, though. They're answering back or finding... The First Blood, for example, picked up by Yamin. It was a rotation from mid, jungle, and support. They were all rotating.
Here comes Raffer, going to stop up the siege. Blinks in without his team, but it disrupts the entirety of Team Dignitas' 5-man mid-lane siege. Stuck in a ring is Frostiak. He might be in some trouble, but Emilito puts out so much damage from the sky with the help of that Valkyrie's discretion. Team Dignitas, with what looked to be a great 5-man siege man, completely pushed out of the way.
Completely agree. I don't even think Epsilon played that perfectly. Adapting did not get a good ultimate off. Raffer's went to waste, really. But the damage of Emilito coming through for the boys and just pushing back one more time. Dignitas. Don't forget the heals from Wisps, though, did allow them to sustain more.
Soulstone. All right, maybe not quite Soulstone, but Sylvanus really doing work and showing why he's such a potent pick. As we go back to the base, we'll see what Freya will pick up as we finish this talent. I agree. We should expect to see the Pythagoras piece, essentially because what a lot of the pros are saying these days is Bancroft is a great item, but it only gives you 10 more damage by default unless you start working the passive. And these days, with the amount of burst on a lot of these rosters, you don't really get used to use that passive. You're either alive or you're dead.
I mean, so to be fair, it's Emilito as well, and Emilito likes to mix up his builds crazily. Like, we'll try and commentate on Emilito's build, and he'll do something crazy. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, but the point here is that both of them are very viable options.
Very true.
You get a lot of damage if you can use the passive from the Bancrofts, but sometimes you're not always in that position. And if you go the Pythagoras piece, you also get to share some of those stats like a Soli.
Now, this is what the situation that Dignitas have to come out big, the Fire Giant contest. Because right now, the game is balanced into Epsilon's favor, but a Fire Giant will swing Dignitas into a lead here. They have to do well in this fight, and they have to take the Fire Giant. And at the same time, honestly, they're a little bit behind on experience, so they've got to make sure someone continues to farm to keep catching themselves upon experience.
Shadow Nightmare standing where his tower once stood. Frostiak a little bit alone in the jungle. Dimmy forcing Frostiak to be a little bit more careful as to where he steps. Just the presence of Epsilon is enough to really send Dignitas deeper and deeper into their jungle. They understand that if that Blink Initiate comes in, that Epsilon is right behind them. There comes Raffer, gets the pull out of Shadow Nightmare, and there's the follow-up Blink. Stuck in the middle of everything is Shadow Nightmare. Ultimate already down, so is Dimmy on top of Shadow Nightmare. Cats are out. They're going to stop Dimmy just a little bit, but Emilito's already taken out the Ymir variety up in the clouds, so the extra life has been activated, but that's only once. Ren's in a lot of trouble. The pull will miss, but the pulse won't. Emilito finishes off the bottom side of the double kill, while the rest of Epsilon looks at variety. Adapting picks up Frostiak.
Adapting does pick up Frostiak. Now, the whole key to that engagement for them, they'll be able to do this Fire Giant for free now. There's not a whole lot of variety to do. But the whole key to that was they wanted Shadow Nightmare. This is why I feel the whole Odin pick was for. Trap Shadow Nightmare in a circle where he cannot escape, force the engagement, and really bring him down. They picked off Isis, then they just went to town and picking apart the rest of the team, but the magical damage was gone.
Adapting got hit by that last hit from the Fire Giant. I don't know if you were looking at it or not, Hindu Man. He teleported out of there. I couldn't tell you a numerical value, but I'd bet that the under was 10.
You can say close.
I think he had less than 10 HP in total.
And that's exactly what I was talking about in this game, though, is that Dignitas had to come out big in that Fire Giant fight, but Epsilon realized that themselves, capitalized on the fact that Tier 2 tower in mid was down, so they had no fallback, so they had to play so very deep, and it hurt them.
Exactly, and I mean, this is, I referenced it earlier in the game, and then right when the teams were sort of jockeying for position, Raffer's going to blink in, and you know Epsilon is right around the corner. It's exactly what happened. Raffer, Odin, adapting. All on top of that ring that was put down by Dimmy, and it was just too many issues for Team Dignitas' mid laner, Shadow Nightmare, to really deal with. He goes down right away, which means the circle of protection is gone, and that's a lot of the team fight.
The jungle right now, we can see Frostiak get picked up, trying to get his speed buff there. Shadow Nightmare did try to support, but he's not had the best of games. Not by choice, I feel. He's been very focused throughout and currently finds himself at 0 and 5 in this one.
One of the bigger problems in this fight for Team Dignitas now is the amount of burst, is how bursty Epsilon is. You have the Bird Bomb from Odin, which as the game gets later, it will do less damage, but it's still chunky. You've got the Bird Bomb from Odin, you've got the Yaman burst coming out of there, and then you're just stunned the entire time out of everyone else while Freya's not silently, but Freya's doing everything she can on the other side of the fight. We've seen this split fight come out a lot from Epsilon, and it's working in their favor.
Well, Phoenix on the left-hand side is being sieged. It looks like it'll fall before an engagement even goes off, and there we have it. Epsilon take the first Phoenix down, rotate towards the mid lane, looking for the second, or potentially you're picking the jungle.
Nothing really Team Dignitas can do here head on. They really need to find a pick. Sort of like we saw yesterday in the Elevate fight. They need to be able to isolate these individuals one-on-one. There's no way Team Dignitas can fight this full-on without a very strong Shadow Nightmare Circle of Protection ult. That's their sort of saving grace. If they can utilize that Hindu Man, that'll put them in a great spot, but Epsilon is playing very smart and not allowing that to happen.
And not only this game, like, not only are they behind on goal, but the experience has made an impact now. Near enough everyone on Epsilon is reaching level 20. Emilito just dinged over, so only Rafa still to hit, but across the way, not one member of the team has managed to get level 20 yet, which shows the experience gap that's happening from these engagements.
Frostiak only level 18, as you said. He has built into that Transcendence, looking for the raw damage after that, the Titan's Bane, so trying to do what he can, but the early game of Bastet has not really transitioned into the mid or the late game for him, unfortunately. He's finding himself more dead than not. What previously was a 0 death, really something to talk about for the team, now 4, 3, and 4. Respectable slash line, but those 3 deaths came in the last 10 minutes.
And the thing for Epsilon this game as well is that what they've been doing is focusing both the magical dealers. Early game, they got early picks onto Frostiak, put him behind. Then Shadow Nightmare was a big focus. No magical presence on the game because they can't get involved. I mean, Shadow Nightmare, he's got 3 items. He did go for 2, which I agree with, to try and get as much burst out as possible in this situation. But it's just a rough situation when you've only got physical to try and come up against this front line.
The early combat blink forced out. Odin forces the hand of so many actives. It just forces Shadow Nightmare to buy that combat blink. And what happens is, if you get stuck in that ring with that blink down, I mean, we've seen it happen. That's the story of all these fights.
Now, if you kill these magical, look at the enemy team. What is Epsilon built? There's a breastplate of Valor on Yamin because it's only physical they have to deal with. They've got in the jungle Thor with the Spirit Robe. Obviously, you've got Rafa as well with the Sovereignty. And, you know, his Spirit Robe as well, which is going to give him extra protections against physical damage the whole time.
Variety going to be chased out by just a couple of pulses. Won't exactly get him low, but the threat of more damage to come is enough to use the animals to get out of problems. Variety still going to stick around. The Fire Giant, not a threat, but he's standing directly on Adapting's ward, so if he's trying to be sneaky, it's not happening.
One of the things that I can see out of Epsilon, though, is that their game plan going into these games seems to be, who is the biggest threat on the enemy team, and let's neutralize it. We've seen this time again. They focus reels a lot in the Fnatic games.
Oh, yeah.
They've been everywhere trying to pick up the person who's going to be the big leading key star to the enemy team, and it's working for them.
I mean, that's something that I talked about in picks and pans. I'm always, with this roster, I'm always looking towards Shadow Nightmare to sort of do what he does, and apparently Epsilon doing the same thing. Shadow Nightmare really not able to do anything. 0, 5, and 1, and that's, I mean, sure, he's not having a good game, but it's 100% by design of the guys on Epsilon.
And that's the way it's going to be. Clearing out the jungle, though, taking away as much as they can. Fire Giant has respawned. They chose the side of safety here, didn't take the middle Phoenix, just took the left one. Farm Gold Fury, going to get the second Fire Giant now, and we'll probably see them look to close out. Dignitas' last stand will be very soon in this first game.
Fire Giant goes the way of Epsilon for free. 28.5 minutes in, 8-21 are the kills. Epsilon with a enormous lead over Team Dignitas, plus the Fire Giant. The numbers are almost irrelevant, folks. It's all about just the fact that Epsilon is really driving this one home. And it's, you got to look towards Team Dignitas again, about finding the pick, but it's about defending on this Phoenix correctly.
Well, let's see what they're going to do in the jungle, because they're just warding up, looking for an obvious rotation round the back from Team Dignitas. Variety hanging off to the left-hand side of this middle Phoenix here. Both teams going to be hanging out. Frostiak, though, will swing around the right.
I like the positioning of Shadow Nightmare. He understands he's the target, so he's all the way out. He's all the way in the back, avoiding the Wrath of Terra. It's only going to hit Frezzy. Doesn't matter for Epsilon. Frostiak deals enough damage, takes out Rapper. So that's 1 kill for 0. Emilito forced into the air. This isn't aggressive, folks. This is defensive. Yaman gets 2, 3 kills. Make that a triple. Variety stuck in the sky. Yaman fighting for his life. Frostiak makes sure that doesn't turn into a quadra. And what looked to be a good defensive move for Team Dignitas originally turns right around off of a multi-kill from the mid laner Yaman. He falls, but the rest of his team won't. The Titan goes down, and Epsilon takes game 1.
Emilito there got himself in a bit of hot bother, but what he did, took to the sky, dealt amazing damage while up there, and then Yamin just cleaned up the kills that were against him, and then he got himself out of trouble, and then the whole team turned it, ended the game.
I mean, that was for all intents and purposes Dignitas' fight. I mean, we said going into it that
was a good fight.
Watch out, it depends on how they play defense, and they did well. The Shadow Nightmare positioned himself to the back to avoid the Wrath of Terra, and then as soon as it was good, everybody jumped onto the Sylvanus to stop the sustain that comes from the Wisps. But Yamin, the player that earned First Blood, also earned what you could call Last Blood. Right there, it all started. Look at that burst at level 1.
Yeah, it was good work from the whole team, though, because they're doing this time and time again. Early invasions, they know where the rotation's going to come. They're going to go for the back harpies. All right, let's all group for the back harpies and catch them. The jungler's always, most of the time, going to get there before the mid laner.
It's so scripted these days. You know exactly where the jungler's going to go, and Epsilon using that to their advantage. And Emilito really going to be your player of the game. Played a fantastic Freya here in the long lane, and just excellent play coming
throughout the whole game too. I mean, Emilito got a great game for himself. Early on, you saw the aggression. You just saw Variety get that kill on Dimmy, and immediately, look at this response. They went aggressive. They realized it. Rafa was in there too, giving the support. And once they realized Renz was out, well, the focus was on Frezzy. Really good work from Emilito throughout the whole game.
Knew exactly sort of his limitations and knew when to engage with the ultimate and when to use the pulse and irradiate. Cleans up that kill on a Shadow Nightmare, and then right away goes for the follow-up kill. Good help from Dimmy to lock in Renz, nowhere to go. Look at the target swaps, though. That's what impresses me.
But it's also what's in position for him to hit without getting himself in an awkward spot.
That's the key to playing Frank.
And when he actually used the Valkyrie, he knew how much damage he could do while in the sky. It wasn't this, let's jump up in the sky and do what we can. It was, I know I can get the kill, I'm going to ult and go, I can get enough damage up with this. And that's the thing a lot of Freya players struggle with.
I mean, Freya gets a lot of nonsense for being a quote-unquote easy-to-play god because it's just about, activate your pulse and go. But what we saw there is the difference between a good and a great Freya, and it's all about positioning. You have a whoop and the ultimate, and that's really all you've got outside of, maybe actives to really save yourself. So the target swaps that I was talking about, as you said, it's about doing what you can safely, and that's why Emilito winds up on the top.